In this ethnography, I interviewed 5 participants and showed them videos of a white person speaking in AAE and a black person speaking in hegemonic English. I then proceeded to ask which one sounded blacker and why. I found that there is a strong relationship between the use of AAE, slang, and tone quality in being considered black sounding. For my hypothesis, I predicted that after listening to a video interview of V Nasty, a white female rapper, and then a video interview of Amanda Stenberg, a black female actress, participants will more often conclude that V Nasty sounds blackest because even though her tone of voice is very nasal, she appropriates the phonological and syntactic rules of African American English into her speech and creates an accent of the persona she attempts to portray, while Amanda Stenberg's tone of voice sounds less nasal, but she does not use features of AAE in her interview. I predict that the participants will assume that the use of features and patterns of AAE has more influence than tone quality and nasality when defining whether someone sounds black. Both speakers are females in their 20s who work in the entertainment business. Their levels of fame are relatively similar because both of their voices are not well known enough to be recognized off hearing an audio of their voices. For my original analysis of Speaker A, Amanda Stenberg, I concluded that although she does not use AAE in her interview, anatomical factors such as the tone quality and pitch of her voice help us to conclude that she's black. Generally speaking, the difference in tone quality and pitch of black people's voices compared to white people's voices is that white people usually speak with higher pitches and tend to have more nasality in their voice and a more forward tone, whereas black people usually speak with lower pitches than white people and often sound less nasal. The voices of black people tend to sound like they resonate more in the chest area, while the voices of white people tend to sound like they resonate more in the mouth and the sinuses. Although this is not true for everybody, the anatomical cues that we are given in the video will lead us to conclude that Amanda Stenberg sounds black. In my original analysis of Speaker B, V Nasty, I concluded that despite being white, she appropriates an abundance of features of AAE into her speech as well as slang. Some of the patterns that she uses are develarization of ing, habitual B, labiodentalization of theta to T, deroticization, zero regular past tense, and zero possessive. In addition to her appropriation of AAE and slang, she speaks with an accent which makes her sound like she's attempting to sound black or sound urban. This may lead people to think that she sounds more black, but in my original analysis, I concluded that factors such as the inconsistency and awkwardness of her accent and her very forward tone and overuse of slang and AAE would lead many to believe that she is not actually black. In my results, I found that the majority of participants concluded that Speaker B sounded the blackest because of her excessive use of AAE and slang, her harsh tone, and the inconsistency and inauthenticity of her accent. The participants concluded that Speaker A sounds less black because of her use of hegemonic English and her softer tone of voice. My original analysis was most similar to participant 1's response, which was the most correct of all of them, as well as the most different of them all. The majority of responses can help us see that sounding black does have a correlation with the greater use of AAE, but also correlates with tone quality. Speaking AAE and sounding black in society generally puts people at a disadvantage due to the racism in our society. Speakers of AAE are always given less opportunity and are therefore stuck in a cycle of systematic oppression. AAE speakers are often neglected by their teachers and therefore obtain a limited education because they are seen as having a speech disorder or being slow learners. Sounding black in the justice system significantly increases one's chance of being found guilty because they're not taken seriously by people who view them as uneducated, and the racist society often associates AAE speakers and black people in general with criminal actions. Speakers of AAE are also less likely to get hired because the employers are often racist and stereotypical and usually associate AAE with incompetence and illiteracy. They view AAE speakers as bad for business, so they don't want to hire them for fear of ruining their professional reputation. In contrast, churches where AAE speakers can feel most comfortable to be themselves and speak in AAE because their language is appreciated and understood by people who attend church, and it often makes it a place of liberation from the racism and ignorance of society.